The United Nations Agency for Palestinian Refugees, UNRWA, its head, Philip Lazzarini, is saying this morning that more children have been killed in Gaza since October 7th than in the 4 years previous in all wars around the world. Philip Lazzarini describing the numbers as staggering, calling the ongoing conflict a war on children. Here's the number. At least 12,300 Palestinian children have died in the last 4 months, according to the UN. And, of course, many more have been wounded. Thousands have been orphaned. The World Health Organization and UNICEF both recently warned children in Gaza are dying of hunger and malnutrition, but, of course, many dying in the bombardments as well and in the fighting. So a deep psychological toll and physical toll on these children. I want to spend some time looking at that story, one that we maybe haven't told sufficiently, but we're going to spend some time today with Dr. Audrey McMahon, who is a child and adolescent psychiatrist at MSF, Médecins Sans Frontières, Doctors Without Borders, and she's in Jerusalem this morning. Dr. McMahon, welcome and thank you for joining me today.
Good morning.
You were just listening to my preamble. I'm just interested in your thoughts. Philip Lazzarini echoing comments that we've heard, for example, previously from the UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres. Gaza is becoming a war on children, a graveyard for children. What do you think of those characterizations?
I can only agree to this. The stories are horrendous. We get them every day. Every day we hear the death of children, and now children are starting to die of hunger, even in the south of Gaza, where food is a bit more available. The number of children killed has been horrendous for a long time, and I think these numbers speak for themselves. The situation is dire. It's beyond catastrophic. And the health system has collapsed for a long time, so everything is extremely difficult. And of course, the most vulnerable are paying the highest price, including the children.
And I want to focus with you on the mental health aspect, the psychologic aspect, but that's your specialty. You are in contact daily, I know, with the MSF team working with children in Gaza. It's a simple question, but I mean to encompass it so broadly. How are the children? What is the latest that you're hearing from your team members as they try to help children there? Children
are extremely scared. We are hearing a lot of stories of children, not sleeping, having insomnia for months, having nightmares, being extremely scared of losing their families. Many children have already lost both their parents, and they are under extreme stress. Some children, one story is just to show how children understand what is really going on. A 6-year-old yesterday told his mom, because they have to think whether they want to leave or stay, try to leave Gaza or not. It's not easy to leave. And the 6-year-old said, if we leave, it's not because we want to, it's because we fear death. Nobody wants to leave, but they are in an incredibly difficult situation, and children are exposed to utter and sheer violence, things that no children should be exposed to.
You mentioned those who've lost parents. There is a term now, wounded child, no surviving family. That's a common acronym, unfortunately, to talk about children who have been orphaned by the ongoing fighting. You mentioned that 6-year-old, obviously understanding the stakes, life and death for his family. We saw you on video, Dr. McMahon, with a drawing done by a 13-year-old in Gaza. I'm just going to pull that up because you wanted to highlight this in this video, and I think we can see it. We'll just stay on this for a moment. Can you tell us what it shows and why you think it's indicative of what children there are experiencing?
I think this drawing is very graphic. It shows the reality on the ground, and the reality is that children have been seeing dismembered bodies in the streets around them. They've seen a tremendous amount of people being killed, being injured, losing limbs, and what we see on this drawing is it's disturbing. It's pretty, but at the same time we do see, and that's what I mentioned in the video, We do see the sun.
And
we do
whole
see
buildings intact, sort of a hopeful future. Is that kind of that?
I think that's their
Yes.
hope to return home, their hope to return to what life was before.
How to find that hope, though, Doctor, in the midst of such devastation? How even begin to understand it, let alone to process it, let alone to recover from it? I'd like to know about your team there as they provide, I think it's called psychological first aid to children. What do they do? What supports are they offering to these kids?
Yes. So the kids we receive in the hospital, so the MSF hospital where we work at the moment is focusing mostly on surgeries and injuries, wounds. And so we receive children that went through amputation, that have lost limbs. A lot of them actually lost family members. Some are orphans now, and they are in excruciating like physical pain for some of them. So we do offer a lot of just support on they are in high psychological distress, so playing with them, trying to process with them what's going on, trying to help them bear the pain that is physical but also very much emotional. And so we do many activities with the children, some storytelling, some drawing. Many children are using drawing and storytelling to slowly process and try to make sense of what you can't make sense. But so different types of activities to support them and to bring some sense of normal in the absolute abnormal.
And as far as long term, what is your sense of what the long-term mental health impacts, the long-term post-traumatic stress will be on these children, and how it will affect them long term?
The impacts will be long-lasting, probably their whole life, and probably over generations. These children I think they will be affected for a very long time. And of course, with trauma symptoms, I don't think we can even talk of PTSD, and we won't be able to talk of PTSD for a long time, because this has been ongoing even before, and it will be ongoing after. And so they are faced with daily violence, and they will do the best they can, but what's to come and the help that they are going to need is massive. We know that we have all the children in Gaza right now, that is half, so that almost like 1 million children needing psychological help at the moment.
The needs are going to be extraordinary in the short term, and as you say, down the road. The UN has often talked about ceasefire, and the latest line from Philip Lazzarini is ceasefire now for the sake of the children. What do you want, I mean, we're here in Canada, but what do you want the rest of the world to know about the children and how best to help them now?
Well, the children themselves have been starting to question their belonging to humanity. Those are words that we hear from young children, 5-year-old wanting to die. And so I think we have to ask ourselves, is that the world we want children to grow in? Is that the world we want for them? And a ceasefire is the first thing we need for medical aid to go in and for children to start slowly getting back to some kind of normal. I think it's a question of humanity.
Dr. McMahon, it is such an all-encompassing issue. It requires more conversations, but I hope we can continue those on. But thank you for today. Really appreciate it. Again, particularly given what we're hearing from the UN in terms of the number of children who have been killed and obviously who are going to be dealing with long-term effects from this ongoing war. Dr. McMahon, thanks again.
Thank you.